when I don't see him for a few days. He gets on the weekends. I lose him Thursday night. And he rubs feet. And he takes orders, and he gets bit slapped, and I lose him. And then it takes a couple of days.
Someone said that to me on Twitter.
Then I gotta fucking feed him all this shit to bring him back in, and then he's good till Wednesday. I get on a plane and I come back on Monday, and he's fucking half a Harvey homo again. What's going on with you? With your little purple shirt, you're looking good. That's a beautiful shirt.
Thank you. I got my first sponsor for Flying G Radio, so thank you.
Look at you with the star,
Canon,
Jew fucking thing.
Canon clothing.
Look at you, and they're Australia.
Yeah, they're from Australia.
Australians are some cool fucking motherfuckers.
I never met an Australian I didn't like.
Really, seriously,
Yep,
they're
serious.
really. There's something about those
Australian.
motherfuckers.
I don't know what it is. They're nice. They're just nice. And you know, when you at the Comedy Store late night, anytime after like 1 o'clock, especially like during the week, because their vacations are like 2 months long. They go on holiday and they just like travel around the world for like 2 months. If it's late night and there's 5 people left in the OR at the store,
3 of them are Australians.
all of them.
Yeah.
Because the time difference, it's like noon to them, and Australians can drink till the fucking cows come home. They're indestructible.
No, the guy was he just hit me up. So, I mean, it's a great company. But it's, I've never been there. I've never done that kind of flight. The longest flight I ever did was like, I think 14 hours. Have you ever been to Australia?
No, but that's a hell of a flight. That's like
like
18 hours or some shit.
That's crazy.
For all the people who listen to the podcast, I got to get something off my chest that I just found out this morning. I always knew I wasn't going to be eligible to get a passport. I've been lying to you guys for a long fucking time. I told my wife today, I said, listen, because we got the letter back, which I knew. The fucking names don't match up. My father's name on my birth certificate and on his Cuban birth certificate don't add up. They made a mistake in New York. They made like 6 mistakes in New York.
Right.
But the truth of the story is that I was born in Cuba, but when I got citizenship or whatever, they gave me a New York City birth certificate. And they gave me that birth certificate, and I remember having the original when my mother died. It was a black piece of paper that had been typed, and they shrunk it down in those days, and that's what you took home. It was stamped. Everything was on it, and it had, like, my dad was a waiter, like shit like that on it, which was always rare. I lost that birth certificate. I applied for a new one. Then they sent me this complete different fucking sheet of paper.
Right.
Like a diploma. It looks like a high school fucking diploma.
Yeah.
And once I got that high school diploma, I looked at it, I looked at the names, and I basically folded it up in my pocket and prayed for the best. Yeah. When I went to Jamaica, I sweated it. The first time I went to Jamaica, I sweated it. I went to Hawaii, I sweated it.
That's America, though.
It was still a little too long of a fucking
Anytime
flight.
you fly over an ocean, you get dicey.
I know for a fact I went to Venezuela as a kid. Either I have a passport or something happened. But I will tell you that nothing's going to add up. And like I told Terry, I have a friend that's 40, a Cuban girl in Colorado.
Yeah.
Fucking chick's been here since she was 3. Well, guess what? She got a letter about fucking 6 months ago. She's not a U.S. citizen. Something happened, the computers. This bitch got to start from scratch. And in the meantime, she can't get a job.
Ugh.
It's so that's what I fucking need. That's what I fucking need right now. To send in for this passport and for them to find some fuck up, and next thing you know, I'm getting arrested and getting deported. Because if there's anybody they're gonna fucking deport, I talk about Obama's wife. I want to eat her asshole. He writes this shit down, and he's like, I'll keep that motherfucker in mind.
Jesus, that's so 40 years later, she's now finding out? That's
40 years
unbelievable.
later,
So what can she do? Is she just fucked?
I talked to her when I was in Denver. She came to the shows with her son and her husband. I've known them for 20 fucking years. So I never wanted to mess with it. Like, I'm very lucky.
Don't rock the
I'm
boat.
very fortunate. I'm one of those guys. Once I know I'm very fortunate, listen, I'm living in the best country in the world. And yeah, I don't get to travel to other countries to do comedy, and people are like, you're losing money. Listen, I know for a fact that if I apply and push the fucking envelope, like this attorney called today, he's like, this is not, what's going on? And I explained to him, this is New York 1966. They did everything by fucking hand.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff, like I went looking for records 7 years ago in Union City, and they sent me to a library to do the fucking thing where you have the sheet and you got to put it under the microscope.
Microfiche.
Microfiche. Yeah, and they have it on computer. I didn't know what I was doing, so I just abandoned ship. I ran the fuck out of there.
You look at that news.
That shit under fucking 1985 now. Under 1979, 80, your shit's gonna, because my police record, half of it is gone. Half of it is gone. I just got my record 2 years ago when I got my criminal, when they stole my identity. And I just got my police from me and Terry were talking, let's go see through it. And I go, there's 15 arrests that are completely missing. We called the service, and no, this is what's on there. I had 2 false arrests that were not me. You know, 2 Jose Diaz's that were not. You know, my name is Jose Diaz. What the fuck? That's John Smith in the United States.
100%.
Go to Miami and look for Jose Diaz. You're dead.
You'll be there for fucking
You'll
two
be there for
2
fucking
years.
Oh, yeah. That's why I always knew. I just go to Miami. They'll never find me.
Right.
The Yellow Pages, Diaz is 8, 9, 10, 15 fucking pages in Miami.
But do you does it worry you? Like, are you sitting there nervous?
Yeah, I was always worried. I've always been worried because my parents pulled the quick one. They pulled the quick one. My wife went on Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
Right.
My uncle's on there. My dad's on there. My mom, she ain't on there. This bitch lived on the whatever islands, the Cucuz Islands outside of Cuba. She lived in Venezuela. She lived in Chile. She's not on there. No Ellis Island record of Denora fucking Valdez, Tuero, Malvarez, nothing.
Yeah.
All the names she's involved with. You know, so these people pulled the quick one. It was the fucking 50s and 60s. You went to Miami the way you used to be. You used to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
You know, we went to Miami the way to Cuba, I'm sorry, the way today you go to Las Vegas. It was easier in 1955 to go to Cuba than what it is to fly from here to Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, you go through less drama in the 50s going to Cuba.
Wow. It's like
It
a
was-
30-minute flight.
Yeah, it was me, you, we're hanging out. We're having
Well, it's
a
like
few-
90 miles, so it
was
has to be like a
90
10-minute
miles from
flight.
Miami. So you're in New York City. Listen, in the fucking 84, I left New York for different reasons, but I got to be honest, I left New York because I wouldn't have lived. In 1984, Thibault,
Yeah.
there was an airline called People's Express.
Already sounds dangerous.
Okay, People's Express offered flights to 3 places. You ready? Newark to Miami, Newark to London, and Newark to Los Angeles. That's it. Here's the catch. You never call them up. You couldn't call them up and go, hi, this is Lee Syatt. I want to come get on People's Express. That did not work for them. Here's how it worked. You showed up. You showed up, and if you came up and got on that plane before, so you show to the airport and you go, how you doing? My name is Jayson Thibault. I want to go to London. Mr. Thibault, I don't even think you had to have ID in those days.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. They didn't know. There was no ID. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. They give you a receipt and you paid on the plane. So,
Like a fucking like a shuttle bus
so
practically.
you got on the
Yeah.
plane and then they came up and they told you what it was. For a blanket, it was $6.
Oh, it's like Spirit.
For a snack box, it was $6. For a pillow, it was $2. For earphones with music, it was $5. So by the time you got off, you paid $80 in extras.
Yeah.
You know, the luggage was $15. You know, the flight was, but you know, you're dealing with Uncle Joey.
Yeah.
I would go see Joe the Baker in the Bronx in those days and get 10 credit cards, matching IDs, and an insurance card and a mass card for a nickel.
Right.
Do you know how much wear and tear I got out of those stolen credit cards? So you get on the plane, and I get on that plane and start buying drinks for bitches.
Yeah.
I was nuts in those days. Give that sexy motherfucker a drink. Give her a drink. Give her a drink.
And
not
they
the boyfriend.
could take credit cards on the plane.
They only
in
took
there?
credit cards on the plane. So what they did in those days, there wasn't ting, 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 ting. There
that little
was ching,
swipey
ching, ching,
with
the
the paper
imprint.
thing.
The imprint.
You can let that slide a lot.
That's like fucking stealing, like nothing.
I know.
You don't know how many Chinese lunches, because under $25, they didn't check the book.
Okay.
What's
So
the
in-
book?
There was okay. So here's what. So
Yeah,
let's
I'm
talk,
young. I don't know what
So
this
let's
shit
talk
is.
about. All right, the book was that if you went, I was called an under the limit thief. The limit on credit cards in those days that they had to call it in was $50. So if you went to a store and spent 42, they just imprinted it.
So, but if you spend 50, they had to call the
They had
company
to
to make
call
sure
it
the
in.
money.
Not call it in. They do the imprint and call it in. I have Jayson Thibault 33456 expiration 626. $64 is approved. Okay. But if you didn't spend over 50, they're busy. You go to a busy store.
They don't want to take the time
So
to
this
call.
is part of the whole scam. You went to a busy store. So you went to the mall, you watched the ladies who was the busiest, and you brought her the thing, $42, ching ching.
Yeah.
It was like stealing. So I used to have lunch every day. In those days, we always went to lunch because we pick a Chinese lunch special, me and you, even if it was $5.95, it's on us. We'll side order of spare ribs, a couple Cokes, you know what I'm saying? So we became under the limit thieves. That's what that called. It's the scummiest people in the world, but I had a great time.
It happens to me like
It's
every
like
6
free-
months.
Yeah.
I think one of the post offices has a guy in there scanning the cards because every card I get from Bank of America gets. I didn't even activate this one. I didn't even activate it.
And they had it.
They had it.
Yeah, that means they got it from the
And
inside.
and they go to like Ross and they spend $5 but then they go and try to find one big one. Once they find out that it's active, then they go to find one big one. Is
Right,
what
so-
the guy said.
Let me tell you how with Jayson Thibault. So you meet a bitch in New York City.
Okay. All right. I already like the
Boom.
story.
Okay, you get out of work at 1. Mm-hmm. Okay, 1 in the morning. You're
Yeah.
walking out of your little bartending union job with your little black vest.
Mm-hmm.
But while you're there, some chick from Australia is talking to you.
Right.
I really like to go out and drink. So what are you talking about? You want to have a drink? You have 2 drinks, and the chick starts telling you her life. You know, she does blow 3 times, but she really doesn't like it. Hook. You make the call right there. Hold on,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
Listen, bring me a G-Bo. I got a live one.
Yeah.
Right? You start giving this chick bump. She's hot. She sucks your fucking dick. All right? 1 in the morning in those days. 3:30. Thibault. I swear to my fucking daughter and wife. 3 in the morning. I could look at you and go, Teeps, I got an 8-ball. I got like 600. What do you got? I got 800. Let's get the fuck. Let's go to Miami. We take a cab to Newark Airport for $20. They ran on the hour, on the top of the hour. People's Express. They knew the drug addiction. They were the drug plane.
How many hours a day?
24 hours a
No
day.
way.
Here's where it gets interesting. From 8 to midnight, it was $69. But from midnight to 8 in the morning, it was $39 one way.
Get
so
outta here.
come on, guys. I'm lying to you. In
40
those
bucks?
days, yeah, $40 down. It didn't matter. We were putting it on the Chink's credit card from Brooklyn. Bob the.
It's under a $50, so they're not going to check it
No,
anyway.
they're gonna go ching ching, and then when they land, they're gonna run it. It's a fake card, done. And
you're
we're
already
going,
there.
and we're going on there drinking champagne. Oh yeah, we're going.
That's
for
crazy.
broke.
I did that to like Boston to New York.
Yeah.
$30-$40 on a bus. But you flew to Miami?
Miami in those days, and then you waited down there for 3 days till your money was spent.
Yeah.
In those days, listen, Miami knew what you were going down there for.
Sure, especially
All those,
in the 80s.
and especially those dingy, dirtier ones, those Motel 6s, they dropped their price for 15 because all the drug deals in the world were being cut in those fucking hotel rooms.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. You get on those planes. I remember getting on the plane, and I swear to God, guys, let's say there was 90 seats. Let's pretend. 60 of those seats, 55 of those people were hammered.
Oh, yeah.
Hammered. I mean, shit dripping down their nose.
Yeah.
How much
getting
was
up.
to LA? Do you remember?
I think it was like $99 one
Jesus.
way. No. I'm lying to you guys. It was really cheap. That's what the lure was. But sometimes you showed up and there was a line, and you had to stay there all day because now you had to qualify for the next flight. So sometimes you get to that terminal and there'd be 4,000 people out there. Not on the midnight to Miami. Those were only coke fiends, vampires, and people with AIDS.
zombies.
Looking for
People
new
with
blood and
AIDS.
shit. Those are the people that were chasing Mel Gibson. Those people that were chasing Mad Max and shit. Those pale motherfuckers with the blood tube.
Yeah,
It was. You should have seen this plane, Thibault. It was
Just a flying party.
And this is why I didn't really. After I left that scene in '85, I knew I would never match that. Like I had mingled in Colorado, and I went to Aspen, and Aspen was the cocaine capital. And you know, the party I had lived through in New
Aspen
York
was rich cocaine party.
rich. When I was a kid, there was a party, a pool, a place called Patty Bugatti's, and it was a bar with a pool in the middle. So after a few drinks, you could jump in the fucking pool. This is craziness.
Yeah.
And I went there a couple times, and women would jump in the pool, and next thing you know, they take their bottoms off, and you'd be fucking them or fingering them in the pool. This is and yeah, those were different types of things that I had seen. I don't think I fingered somebody. I just heard stories. But when I left New York, when I left New York, the shit I saw in those clubs, like I was never a club guy. But
Me either.
The nights I did go out, like with my friend Mike Astley's one night, we went out with like an ounce of blow one night to those boom, boom, boom clubs. And we're in women's bathrooms snorting with 6 people in a stall. You know, and it's fun, but that's why when I left, but that fucking flight I wish I would have had a camera to show you people. Even the stewardesses were hammered.
I was
guys.
gonna ask what they were doing.
Even the stewardesses were hammered.
And you could probably still smoke on a plane back then.
You could smoke on a plane. And I remember there was a plane that I used to take, United, from San Francisco to New York. That was a double-decker. And in those days, the bottom was regular class, and they treated you like a human being. But the top of the plane was first class. You know, there used to be double-decker planes.
Yeah.
In Midnight Express, when they're going coast to coast, that's where the planes were. Miami, New York, Miami, L.A., L.A., New York. It was double-decker planes. You go upstairs, I swear to God, there would be... I'll never forget that there was a fucking pig one time. And people were picking off the fucking pig.
Really?
Fucking with an apple in his mouth, with hors d'oeuvres around it. That's the time, Thibault, that I went up to first class. I bought a first class ticket on United. I thought I was a gangster. I was bringing back guns. And I was...
Wait.
I was taking guns from Colorado to Jersey. And 2 hours later, getting on the same flight going back to Denver. And then I would have a connection from Denver to fucking Aspen. But I would leave that... I would take like the 6 a.m. out of Aspen, connecting in Denver, 8:05, and I'd be in New Jersey at 11, and I'd be at the 2 o'clock flight from Newark right back to Denver.
And you were selling guns.
And I was taking the guns back and bringing the coke. So I wasn't
trading guns for coke.
Trading guns for coke. Old school, Thibault.
Jesus.
With the Miami Vice holster.
Like
They
a
would make 'em-
Scorsese movie.
Listen to me. When I would put the Miami Vice, I would get there, and Danny Bianculo and like 3 of his Spanish friends would be sitting on a couch, and I would be their model. And I'd put the Miami Vice holster on, the Don Johnson with the fucking gun this way, and the 2 clips here. And I would just sit there. I was like a walking eBay. I'd say, make an offer.
Where would you sit?
I'd stand, and they'd be like on couches. And I'd take through the whole thing, put the gun in the clip it, put it here.
But in like a house?
In his apartment.
Jesus.
In his apartment. We'll ask Danny next time he
How many?
calls.
So how many guns would you have?
I'd take 8 guns, and I'd pay. I got the guy down to 500, and he'd throw in a box of bullets and the holsters. The holsters were retail 100 and something. I think I was wholesaling 8 of them at 60 a piece or something.
Yeah.
So my whole cost, the guns was $450. I think my whole cost on everything was maybe like $6, and I would charge 11.
Okay.
And then I would take 8 guns because it would be 8,800. That's a quarter of a kilo.
Okay.
So I would pick up 11 ounces for 8,000 and bring it back. That was my usual.
Wild.
Tremendous.
That had to be like an adrenaline dump too.
And I get on those flights fucking lit.
Well, of
This is
course.
why I should be doing 20 fucking years. And I'll never forget that one time they were playing the piano on this thing. They had the pig on the table, and I'm in first class, hammered.
Yeah.
Just hammered. It'd been 3 days, Thibault.
Sure.
You know, deep. This is when I had a cocaine endurance.
Been there.
The heart didn't even bother me.
No.
If it pumped, that meant I was alive.
Yeah.
And I fucking went up to a thing, and it was a black velvety thing. And I'm over there with the bartender. Give me another one. I'm fucking banging them 20s. The guy's looking at me like, oh, my God, this guy's a savage. Mm-hmm. And I kept going to the back and doing bumps and coming back. And in one of those, it was a black tablecloth. And I'm like this. And all of a sudden, I felt it, Thibault. I felt it was stuck up here. And I could feel it getting loose, but I couldn't cover it. There was people at the table.
That's the worst.
And the bartender was looking at me. And all of a sudden, the Coke Rock just fell. And it hit the fucking thing. And everybody looked at it at the same time. And everybody looked at me, and I looked at them, and I looked to the top.
You just
I looked
looking at the roof like,
I looked at the roof.
where
like
did this coke fall from? It
there's
wasn't my
something wrong with
nose.
this fucking plane, and I just left and went downstairs and never went back upstairs the rest of the flight.
So you pay for a first class flight, coke falls out of your nose, and then you go down and sit with the common folk after that?
Because you could mingle in those days.
See, that's the worst.
In those days, you could mingle. You could mingle. You could walk around with a drink and go, "Hey, where you
could
from?"
smoke.
You could smoke.
It was like a giant flying
I
singles
think
bar.
in the back, you could smoke. In the back, you could smoke, and in first class, you could smoke. Mm-hmm. So you could mingle. You know, in those days, a flight was a party. It wasn't people sitting like this together. Like when you walk in the fucking coach, they're like this. That's what you look like.
It's a punishment to fly
It's a
right
fucking
now.
punishment to fly. So in those days, people were more loose. It was 2 seats. You know, they had different types of food. They had sandwiches. They used to have creams and colognes in the bathrooms. So when you go in there, you want to put cream on your hands or cologne. They had little bottles. They don't fuck around, dog. They took all that away. But my point to that People's Express, how crazy is that? Like that, I remember doing that like 4 weekends in a row. In September of '84,
I mean, it's cheaper than.
And then I was doing it like I did it again. There was 2 kids from our high school that were down there selling and moving around. And I was trying to nail one of those kids. And I kept going down, and I found myself, I'm going, I can't live like this. This is $100 to get fucked up. This is $80 because it's 40 and 40.
40, yeah.
What you do now is when you go back after midnight.
Yeah.
That's it. You just sleep all day and go to the airport at 11 and pray for a 12 or 1 o'clock flight.
Do you ever rob people on the plane? Because that seems like you could go back and forth and just like rob people if it was a party.
Okay. That's interesting you said that.
Of course he did.
I got stuck one time. When I first met my daughter's mother. She was a criminal. Me and her were fucking criminals. I mean,
Your ex-wife.
My ex-wife.
Yeah.
And we had robbed. We were setting up the building. I was robbing a bookie in this hotel. I lived at the Virginian Hotel, downtown San Francisco on the Tenderloin. It's still there. It's a hostel now.
Oh, it's just up there.
It's
Yeah,
across from the Hilton, and down
Okay.
the corner, there used to be Fat Ron's coffee shop. And there'd be topless coffee waitresses. The Tenderloin was a crazy time. And I moved in there. I was on the run from Colorado for credit cards. And I lived in the Virginia. And I nailed them. I loved dressing up. And I'd go to the Hilton and all the Hotel California, all those. And I'd sit in the lobby with a newspaper, and I'd watch the maids. And I'd follow the maids, and I'd steal their keys. Now I had 2 or 3 days. Now, I wasn't a kid with an earring or a tattoo. I looked pretty. I was built in those days, and I dressed nice. And I had a nice smile. And I could
Unassuming.
talk to people,
Yeah,
unassuming. And I was an outsider. I was
Yeah.
from New York, so they didn't fucking know. But I was a fucking 24-hour thief. And the cops caught up with me one time, and we had to take a bus to Reno, and then we went back. We had to pawn all the jewelry we robbed, and we only had enough for 1 plane ticket or something. I don't know what the fuck the deal was. So I put her on the plane. And she goes, let me go to Boulder, give me a couple days, and I'll get the money. I was at a fucking airport, guys, for 3 fucking days. That was the airport where I went to piss. In those days, you go to the airport. Like, if you have nothing to do, in those days, there wasn't no buzzers. You could walk your family all the way to the plane in those days. So you drove me to the airport. In those days, people wouldn't drop you off like an animal. They would park, have a drink with you, and walk you to the fucking gate and wave at you as your plane went away with their kids.
Absolutely.
It was a complete different fucking world. So people would walk into the airport just to have a drink. And that was the place in 85. It was 85 where I kept going to the bathroom. And it was the same dude in there. And what he'd do, you'd piss, and he'd be in one urinal, and he'd go to the other urinal and get next to Lee and try to look at his dick. And I think he'd jerk off.
Really?
And then once Lee would leave, he'd sit there and make believe he was pissing. And then you come in, and he'd go to your urinal next to you, and he'd look at your dick. And I went in there the first time, and I'm like, this fucking guy. But I didn't say nothing. The second time I went in, he popped right, and he was sweating and shit.
How old was he? Describe him.
I had to be maybe 22, and this guy was probably 30-something. But you could see he was up for a few days. He was sweating.
Is this what he does all day, every day?
He probably just did that all day, every day. Just go to bathrooms and look at guys' dick.
What a terrible life. So what did you say to him?
Get the fuck away from me. In those days, I had no tolerance for that stuff. Like, I didn't understand it. I was out of New York. I was still a little fucked up. I carried a weapon. So I always carried a weapon in those days, so I just told him, get the fuck away from me. I don't know if I had a weapon on me that day or not, but that's when I carried a weapon, 85. In San Francisco, I carried a weapon. I always had something on me because that's a scary fucking town. But
Especially back then. It's not that scary now. There's some shitty parts, but
the Tenderloin still has his moments. Lee was up there. He says a little...
I mean, there were some parts that like weren't great, but then like we were reading reviews for our hotel, and they're like, it's scary. It's not scary. You just don't be stupid. But it was. You told me about that. I can't believe they have topless coffee bars. That seems
At
crazy.
that time, Fat Ron's or something, Ron's Coffee House, and it was open 24 hours. That was.
Jesus.
I think you could put booze in the coffee.
yeah. And
So
they were
people-
topless,
Topless,
baristas or whatever. the fuck.
They had like girls that were regular bartenders, and they had topless fucking.
You could bring your own booze, or they would actually throw
I
booze
think
in
they
there on the
threw booze-
DL.
They threw booze in there. At that time, I didn't drink fucking coffee. I drank a Coke and a buttered roll for breakfast.
Yeah.
And I was ready to go. There was no cereal. There was no oatmeal. There was no apple.
Right.
It was a buttered roll and a fucking can of Coke, dog, and a joint. Fuck it, with a straw. A Coke with a straw. The carbonation would fucking rattle your head in those days.
Absolutely.
So what's been going on, brother? Talk to me.
Not much, man. I actually just me and Sam Tripoli just in San Francisco, and then I was in the Midwest for 5 months before that, getting clean, quit drinking again, quit doing drugs again. You know, I mean, Tripoli always jokes. He's like, dude, you never had a drug problem, really. I would do coke, absolutely. I'd smoke pot 24/7. I don't count pot as shit, but you know, if you have a problem with pot, you have deeper fucking. You're just a pussy or some. You know what I mean? Like something's wrong with you if pot's making your life crazy. But you know, I would do coke just to fucking sober back up and keep drinking. But Tripoli's always like, dude, you're like a 1945 drinker. You know what I mean? Like that's like your past life was like Mad Men and shit. You know what I mean?
How much did you drink towards the end? What were you drinking?
I mean, I you know, it's hard to tell. I mean,
but would you start at 9? Would you start?
I would
at
start.
12?
I mean, if I was tying it on for the day, I'd probably start around 11 a.m. You know, I'd probably have 6 to 8 beers, Jack and Coke or 2, and then go out. You know,
No nap.
No.
Fuck no.
Were you hungover from the day before?
Not really. I never really got hungover, which is a dangerous thing. You know,
Jesus, 'cause
I wouldn't
like,
get that hungover.
I was never the guy. Like drinking has never been my thing. But like if I was gonna go, I'd get drunk. But then like, I could never understand going out Thursday through Saturday. Even just that was crazy to me because how you feel like I felt like shit the next day.
That's just because you're not a drinker.
You're right.
Well, I never got like hungover, but like a couple times. But normally it just like it takes it out of you. Like I always woke up at 6 a.m. after going to bed at 2. Like it was just it's like a really taxing. Like alcohol, it makes you tired the next day. At least
Well,
for me.
It takes lots of recovery from the sugar. How old were you when you had your first drink?
I didn't start drinking till late. I was like 19.
Did you consider yourself an alcoholic at the time you?
Yeah,
Turn
yeah.
yourself in.
From the, oh yeah. But I mean, even then, like even when I was 19, I was like, there was a part in my fucking soul or head or some shit that was like, I am going to have a problem with this. You know, both my father was an alcoholic. Both sets of my grandparents were big drinkers. You know, they were from that kind of like Sinatra era of, you know, it was really romantic kind of fucking, you know, get dressed, G'd up, have a nice hat on, go out and tie it on, you know, big smokers and shit. But I do recall, like, even maybe 2021 being like, I'm gonna have to keep my eye on this shit because this could run amok with me. You know, and it took a while. You know, for all my 20s, I drank a lot and partied a lot, but that's what everybody does in their 20s. You know, but it wasn't until my like mid 30s I started. You know, it just wasn't fun anymore. I was just doing it. It just became a part of, in a lot of ways, my everyday. You know, and you're always at comedy clubs, and it's always free to get. You know, and then you're always like, I'm just gonna have 1 or 2 drinks. There's no point to me
You're a great social drinker.
to have 1 or 2 drinks.
No, but I could tell that you could lure me in.
Oh, absolutely.
There's people who are fucking sleeping pills, but
Yeah.
there's certain people I used to like to drink with, even though I'm not a drinker.
Yep.
And I could see, I grew up in the area you're talking about, which is what makes me walk around even more shameful.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Mission Impossible the other night. It's on Channel 20. And there was a scene where
The old
Graves-
show itself?
The old
Not
show
the movies.
itself.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Yeah.
He walks into a guy's house to talk to him, and the first thing you did in the 60s on television, when
Pour
a man
scotch.
walked into your house, was you turned around. You didn't even ask.
Nope.
There wasn't like, Leah, you want a breakfast drink? No. You came here to bother me in my office. We might as well have a drink.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he
And it was
turned
a
around,
real drink.
And they open up a thing and they put ice cubes in there. They already had ice cubes. That to me was the most fucking amazing thing in the world.
Totally agree.
And then they show a bottle with no label on it. It was brown, and there was one that was white.
Yep.
And they poured the brown. You didn't ask your host, whiskey or gin. You just poured them.
Yep.
And you said like this, and you tapped. And after the first drink, so what brings you to my home?
Exactly.
Well, Jayson Thibault with that, and all of a sudden, in that same scene, the guy would turn and offer you a cigarette. And right there, he'd start smoking a cigarette on television. That's what men did in those days
Yep.
on TV.
I think
Yep.
it still exists, but for me, it's like having a bar that I go to every day after work. Like I don't have that, and I feel ashamed sometimes.
I had that. I have that I grew up in a bar,
Me too.
and I saw the social drinking, and I never liked the end result.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I never liked the end result. I always enjoyed the let's get a drink. I remember the first time somebody asked me to go get a sociable. I felt like a fucking man. I
Yeah.
was like 16 and a half.
Sure.
And he asked me to go to Ludi. In those days, when somebody asked you to go to Ludi, was let's do a lewd. I got a couple lewds. Let's split a lewd and go get a sociable. And I never forget him, like drinking at the bar, having a drink at 2 in the afternoon, and being so excited. But it was such a letdown. Like, all right, so we had a drink. Now what?
Right.
And I go home and I feel like shit. But what saved me all those years, because there's nothing I love more than a cold, 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 cold can of Budweiser. Mm-hmm. That is my blood. If I was in it,
up there.
when I got coked up, if you asked me, if I gave you an 8-ball, Joey, what are you gonna get? I'd get a case of cans, go home and put 12 in the fucking freezer.
Yep.
And every time I take one out of the freezer, I put another 6-pack. I love my cans of Bud. And I would do a line and drink a half of that motherfucker cold. I don't know nothing else. I don't know about your Fat Tire, which I do like Fat Tire with the lemon in it. I don't know about these other ales and all this shit. I know the juice for cocaine. But today, I couldn't drink 2 beers. When I did coke, I could drink those 24 cans in 3 hours. Dave,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
not be hungover the next day.
Not at all.
Oh, I'd be. I like the taste of that beer.
Because like whenever I smoke and then try to drink, I don't get drunk. Like if I'm already high, I don't get drunk. So does it work?
Well, it's because you think you have 6 beers, but you probably just sip on one for like.
No, I don't like beer. I'm a hard liquor guy. So like I was wondering like.
Yeah, he always drinks the whiskey and the Coke, whatever the fuck.
I'd like
Jack-
Maker's Mark.
Maker's Mark.
Yeah, I was a whiskey guy myself. Whiskey and beer were really all that I really ever would
Jameson's
drink.
or what did you?
You pretty much you name it. If it was brown,
Yeah, I liked that.
I was down.
When I drank whiskey for those 2 or 3 years, I liked it. I liked how the whiskey and the Coke felt.
sure.
Oh, whiskey and cocaine. A stronger Irish cream at the time. And my dick would stay hard on Coke with that shit for some reason. I don't know, I never drank it again. I don't know what the fuck happened, but I get fucking. Once I started
Start
getting,
soaking your dick in that shit.
oh my God, once I started getting hungover, I'm like Lee. That's the part where I don't like.
So you're not a big. I never thought of you. You know, I've known you a long time as like a big drinker. I know you had a big Coke past. I do remember some of your Coke days.
But,
towards the tail end.
you give me 4 lines of Coke.
Yes.
And you're done.
See, that's what I mean.
You have alcohol in your house, it's done.
Absolutely.
Once I went to your house and did 4 lines of Coke, and you said, Joey, why don't you just hang out here?
Yeah.
And I go, what do you have to drink? I got 2 cases of beer. I got 2 bottles of
Yeah.
whiskey. After about 2 hours, you're like, I don't see Joey a drinker, but he's giving me a run for my
See, I was
money.
the opposite. I would drink 8, 9 beers, and then I'm like, hey, this guy's got Coke. I'll do Coke. I was the opposite way. I
But
would
now
get
when
hammered.
you do the Coke, how would the beer feel? Now you were drinking them like water.
Now
you
I
were
can- now I
basically
could-
going like this with your dick in your hand.
Yep.
Pissing them out. It's amazing.
it really is.
Once you have a gram of Coke in your lead, you're basically drinking to hydrate, and the body just pisses it out.
And
Like,
I would literally like be like at a party or something like this, and somebody would have a fucking gram or whatever the fuck. Like, hey, I left something for you in the back of the toilet. The top of the toilet. Put a little Kleenex over it or something. Like, hey, I left you a couple bumps or something. And I would fucking, and I'd be so drunk. I got a whole bottle of Jack Daniels in me, and I would stumble to the bathroom, and everyone would be like, well, that guy's probably gonna go in there and die, puke. I would do a couple bumps, and I would come back out sober as fuck. And now I can start over. Now I can, it would erase all that you would drink, and now you could drink for 2, 3 straight days. Coke, you go to like any meetings or any 12-step program or any kind of rehabs or anything like that, and people would be like, you'll always hear alcoholics or people that have a drinking problem be like, the minute I found cocaine, I was a ticking time bomb, because now you're indestructible with your drinking. Now I could, you could get drunk as fuck, do 2 lines of Coke, and then start drinking again. So it's like, one hand would wash the other, and then it's, 9 months later, and, you're selling your car. You're sucking dick for fucking.
I remember drinking shit that I would never drink sober.
Ugh, that's the worst.
Like drinking gin on the rocks. I
Gin's
would never
terrible.
drink that sober, but when that cocaine's in your body burning, you got to turn that fire down with alcohol.
Straight
I was
up.
gonna say, how did you stay so skinny?
I don't know. I've just always had
Different
the metabolism of a
metabolisms,
crack
different
addict.
metabolisms.
Because, I mean, were you having all just straight liquor, like shots, or do you have actual drinks?
No, I would usually go like Jack and Cokes. Whiskey Neat was another one of my go-tos. Just put it in a glass, fuck face. You know what I mean? No ice, no. I don't have time for that bullshit. I don't have time for all the sugar from Coke. After a while, I'd be Scotch Neat, Whiskey Neat. But beers, I would pound
A
beers.
little Dew on the rocks.
Absolutely.
With a can of Bud. A Bud can cold. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't even want the frosty mug. Take that frosty mug and shove it up your ass with the ranch dressing.
Yep.
Give me the fucking can with a fucking napkin around it. I want my skin to stick to that fucking can. That's how I want it. That's how cold. When I was in high school, there was a guy named Ernie who had a bar on 39th Street where they buried my mother's cemetery. Ernie served anybody. As long as you had cash, Ernie served you. And he used to give you those beers that look like a mug, like a keg.
Heineken's?
Rheingold no.
Heineken's have
The
those
little
fat ones.
Those little Rheingolds. And we would fucking bang on his door at 5 in the morning, and you could see him through the hole sleeping on the pool table. And he'd get up. What the fuck you want?
We want to give you $2 more for a beer, mister.
Ernie, we need 2 cases. Who the fuck is this? Coco, I was just here at 4 in the morning. Come on, I gave you a bump. He was around the corner from where the flower guy was.
Yeah, I know. You took us there.
I took
us
him
for the
there. I took him to
documentary.
Ernie.
Oh, really? That's cool.
I took him to Ernie's. Ernie's was a fucking, that guy was
Is he
great.
still alive, this guy?
I don't even think Ernie's was open. I think it's a Spanish bar. It's Ernesto's now. It belongs to some Spanish bar. called
Ernesto's.
Ernesto. So what morning did you wake up and you said, this is it, I got to do something?
You know, it was probably, it wasn't really just I think it was like a couple weeks of just like sick of shit being the same, work on a TV show during football season, the Red Zone channel. That job was up. My sublease was up. So I was like, I can get a new apartment, and I was crashing it on Tripoli's couch. I was crashing at my girlfriend at the times. You know, I was just kind of like in this limbo. You know, I was going in like the store and the Improv and the Ice House every night just because I knew I could knock down a bunch of free booze, just pissing through cash. It just felt like Groundhog's Day. It was like the same fucking day. The weather here was the same every day. Everything just felt like the same fucking shit. And I was like, I had opportunity to go back to my old hometown right outside Chicago. There's a recovery house there that I knew from when I was sober before, because I was sober for like 3 years. And then I started drinking again, and I went out for like 2 years. And it was way worse the second time than it was.
Yeah. Your addiction grows.
So yeah, it was way worse. And I was just like having thoughts like, man, I should just fucking, if I get a gun, man, I could just fucking kill myself. Then you start thinking about the shit you gotta throw out before you kill yourself. All this shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? What? This is fixable. Like, I just need to go away for a while, So I was gonna leave for 90 days. I was gonna go to this recovery house, and I wound up So I wound up staying in my hometown for like another 3 months after being there. And I did one gig with Ren is Easy. First week I was in Chicago area because I already had it booked with them. And then I started going to this recovery house. And then I didn't do any gigs for like 2.5 months. Just going to 2 to 3 meetings a day. I was seeing a addiction therapist twice a week. And then I was working at Habitat for Humanity. Cold winter, cold like 2 degrees without the wind. It'd be 1 o'clock in the afternoon, sun would be up, and you'd look at the thermometer, just say 2. Like fuck.
And you're building houses.
One house, yeah, we just did one house.
You did a whole house, because I did that in South Carolina, but I was only there for like a week. So like you were there for the entire time?
No, when I got there, they were about like half done with it, and when I left, they were almost. I think they just finished it this week because a friend of mine just sent me a picture of it and shit.
That's what Hitler told the Jews. It's Habitat for Humanity. Get in there. You're gonna build houses, some buffets and shit.
Everything's. I think I saw a unicorn in there. It looks awesome.
Unfucking believable. Unfucking believable. So you go to this Habitat for Humanity. Do they pay? No.
Well, I did 2 different things there. One, I worked at this place called the Restore, where people would donate. You get your kitchen redone. You could donate you could either try to sell all your old countertops, or you could donate it to Habitat for Humanity. You get a tax write-off, and they would come pick it up. So it was like a professional mover. Like every day I would, 1 day a week I would do that. And then we just have going to these 4 houses. We had a big-ass fucking U-Haul truck that they own, and then we would just go there and just haul shit out. And that was brutal. That was the worst because it was always somebody had a fucking grand piano that they built the house around. You don't know, no clue how to get it through any of these doors.
That's brutal.
So on the third floor, you got a fucking shitty dolly. You know, you don't want to not fuck up their stairs, and it was just shit people wanted to get rid of.
And then there's snow on the ground.
Ice. One time we had to move a fucking piano out of a church basement. They're gutting this church. So they leave. They're like, go in. You guys take whatever the fuck you want. Just clear it all out because whatever you don't take, we're gonna have to throw out. So go in there. We're there all day. We're fucking moving all this shit. And the worst thing was this fucking one of them. You know those elementary school, like they would like stand up pianos, not a grand piano, but it'd just be like a wall
The
piano.
one you could like roll around.
Yeah, you think you could roll it around, but we got to go up this fucking ramp, like a handicap ramp, going outside. But it is stone fucking full of ice. I mean, it's the dead of fucking February. So we go out, and I got a crowbar. And this other guy that I work with, who's probably got about 90 pounds on you, and you got about 3 inches on him, right? This guy, and he's got a hammer. So we got a hammer and a crowbar. We're on our hands and knees, just breaking all this ice up, so we can push this shitty fucking piano all the way up. And then when we got it to the top of the driveway, we had to get it up this truck with all this ice. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. So I would do that, and that would pay. That paid. So I got to make a little money when I was doing that shit. And then when I would work on the house, that was like volunteering. So you're just doing drywall and a lot of painting doors, painting trim, just any kind of shit. There was like a contractor there to just be like, you know, what do you want me to do today? Be like, yeah, go fucking paint that wall, whatever the fuck. And you would just do it, you know. And it just got me so out of it. Not only was it different shit I was doing, I was around like real Midwest people. Nobody was constantly on their fucking cell phone. No one was wrapped up in their own shit. No one's constantly asking me you about your resume. You know, you were just in real life. But the weather was so different than 82 and sunny every day that it just felt like I wanted to feel like myself again. Really, really, that's really what I was really trying to get back. You know, I wanted to get some time under my belt of not drinking every day or 5 days a week or whatever the fuck. But I really just wanted to fucking feel like myself again. Like the guy that moved out that was happy and hopeful and, you know, gave a fuck. I didn't give a fuck anymore, Joe. You know what I mean? I really quit giving a fuck.
Well,
for about 2 months.
I love the
3
one
months.
thing you did. You did the smartest thing that nobody ever thinks about. Everybody always is looking. When I got fucked up in '92, I was really bad shape after my divorce. Mm-hmm. I kept sitting there and I kept going, what am I going to do? I can't afford to live. I mean, I was in that borderline type of stuck that you can't even get out of bed.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of a
really
sort
relate
of
to that.
depression. But I still had enough money to do blow every night.
Absolutely.
You know, every night I went downstairs and stole $1,000 from the fucking landlord. I still had money to do blow. And I cracked up my car.
You find a way.
And I remember I said, fuck this. And I called my buddy and go, dog, I'm lost. I need for you to send me money for a plane ticket. And I knew a guy, and I bumped like 2,000 Valiums from him. I told him I'll be back in a week. Mm-hmm. I knew I wasn't coming back in a fucking week.
2,000
Oh, yeah. He's like, take this. You can make $10,000. All I needed was startup money.
Yeah.
And that was it. He gave me $2,000. And this guy had killed somebody at some tavern. He had just got out of jail. He was the lot guy at Boulder, Chrysler, Plymouth, something.
Uh-huh.
And I became friends with him. He was one of those guys that, if I was 20-something, he was 50, but he still listened to AC/DC, man.
Yeah. He was a
And
young
he had
50.
2 kids. No, he wasn't a young 50. He had shown heroin for 30 years of his life, then did 20 years in prison.
Jesus.
He was out, and now he had like 2 kids. One was like 2, and the other one was 4. He was working as a lot man. Remember the type of people I told you I didn't want to be? When I saw him, I'm like, this is what I'm going to end up being.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
You know,
go
I
to
saw a
jail.
lot of that too.
Yeah,
myself.
you saw a lot of that.
There was a lot. I mean, I don't want to.
But you went home.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best thing to do is go home, go to your old bedroom, walk around your neighborhood, walk around your school,
See
to
your
remember
old
who the
fucking
fuck you
friends.
were.
Dude, that
to
was so
smell that.
key.
That is so key, and nobody does that. No, I'm going to go something. Listen, you want to get cleaned up, go back to your neighbor. Go to your grammar school, walk the stairs. Because what's going to come back to you is what you were thinking about at that age.
It's exactly what happened.
Of who you wanted to be.
Totally happened.
Now you're pounding nails. Every fucking nail you pound and cold you are, now you're thinking about your life and when you went wrong.
Yep.
It's quiet. You have an iPod on or whatever the fuck you got in your head, and you're just nailing. If I come to you, when you're rehabbing, like whatever it is, drugs, a girlfriend threw you out, somebody died, don't get a job where you have to talk to people. You want to think. Apply for a painter's job. You come to work, you smoke a fucking Toots, you put your little Van Halen on, you come up, you tape the walls, you sand them, you put the holes in, and you're by yourself.
Yep.
And sometimes, and without the phone, and without people calling you and saying, hey, how much would you charge me for this gig?
Yep.
And without somebody coming up to you and saying how funny you are, how come you're not getting spots? That shit will fucking wear on you.
Dude, and it was like 2 years of that it really, I mean, it felt like, because it was always feels like the same day in LA, it felt like 4 or 5 months. But then every now and then some shit would happen where I'd be like, oh, fuck, yeah, it's been like this for 2 years. Like, nothing's gonna fucking change if I don't change something.
The worst feeling in the world is to be stuck.
Yep.
Lee has issues. We spoke last night. I've always had issues with it. Sometimes you're stuck in a comedy. Sometimes it's stuck. And you know when you're stuck.
Relationship, you know when you're stuck.
Both fucking angles, somebody's going to get pissed.
And stuck doesn't even really mean bad necessarily.
No,
like for me,
no.
like though I called you last night because I was thinking about it. I was up to like 3 a.m. just. It's crazy that I went to college, and you have to do that now to get a job. But now I'm 27, and I'm just now figuring out what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what I want to do, but not really, because I know, because who knows how long podcasting is gonna last. I'd love to do this for another 40 years, but who knows what will happen. So I was just thinking last night, like I don't know where I want to go, and I turned my TV off, and I folded shirts for like 2 hours. And I think I figured something out, and we'll see. But it's I always knew what I wanted to do. I went to a college where if you didn't know what you wanted to do, if you wanted to switch majors, you had to transfer because there's like 2 majors. So it's a weird place for me. I'm not used to being here.
Being stuck in careers, like you mentioned something really interesting, which I want to talk to you about before I forget.
Sure.
What year did we shoot that porno video?
Huh?
Which one?
The one we did by the pool where I got into the argument with the chick.
Oh, shit. I forgot about
Me,
that.
you, Tripoli.
It was Duncan.
Oh, my God.
It was me and Duncan that went to that.
And
It was at that mansion.
Right.
There was there was another
But Tripoli
comic.
was there. And Ahmed.
Ahmed was there.
Ahmed.
I came with Duncan, but
Okay,
Tripoli was
And
there.
did Duncan perform too?
Duncan. No. We just knew you were performing. Because we were all... That was like... Dude, that was like 97, 98. Because we all had just kind of moved out here and started like, getting to know who's who. And you were one of our favorites.
No, Duncan.
He was still Mitzi's driver. He wasn't even town coordinator yet. He was driving Mitzi around. Because Mitzi Shore, who's the owner of the Comedy Store, Mitzi let him use her... Because she wasn't driving anymore at that point in time. And Mitzi let him use her old Jaguar because his car broke down. So he had Mitzi's like 1986 fucking Jaguar for about a year, maybe 2 years. She's just use it. I don't use it. It's just collecting dust. So he was driving her like pimped out. So we thought we were balling, man. We had a 10-year-old Jaguar. We were driving to this mansion in the hills to watch Joey Diaz.
It was crazy.
That was crazy. It was like a Girls Gone Wild like
that's what they wanted
video
to do.
thing. Yeah.
But was it like a comedy special?
No.
No,
It was like
no.
like there was
Girls Gone Wild with comedy,
Yep.
sex shows.
Yep. There was naked, topless girls playing volleyball in the pool.
Ugly as fuck. And the girls that were hot had clothing on. They were like fake models that like an agency sent. And I remember I kept saying shit to the one girl, and she walked away. She's like, "Fuck you" or something.
Yeah, you got into it
with
you
some
were
girl.
hilarious.
Oh
You
my
were
God,
very
we tormented this girl.
Yeah.
Because you knew she wanted to talk to us, but she was acting stuck up. And once I yelled at her and called her a dirty bitch, then I couldn't get her off me. It was hilarious. Once you insult a woman, she was done. She kept like coming over, and the more she drinks, she'd give me the evil eye. Once they start giving you evil eye, they're gonna suck your dick. You know what I'm saying? They give you like evil eye, like he's got me, this motherfucker. I started tormenting him, and there was a little room, like a guest room.
There was a few of them.
And I remember the guy that came with his wife and was letting guys fuck his wife.
Yeah, there's all kinds of shit like that
At
going
the
on.
shoot?
Oh, there was all kinds of shit like that going on. Like it was a big compound, like
disgusting.
huge house in the hills, but it was at the top of this hill. So they had a pool. They had a pool house. They had the regular house, And then they had all this food set up and free. Everything was free. Food was free. Drinks were free.
Weed,
Cocktails.
the guy told me if you come
weed,
up,
ton
there'll
of
be
weed.
20 joints for you in the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
There was 20 joints for me. We smoked one after the other, and there was another pound going around.
Yeah, so you would
That
walk
was
around
part of the
smoking
deal,
joints. You
to
would
take
get
joints
free.
and smoke
Everything
them.
was free
How long were you there?
all day.
Oh, fucking all day.
All day.
11 to 9.
It was like a giant pool
Sounds
party.
like a week.
And they paid me like $300, $400, $500. Ahmed set it up.
Yeah.
Ahmed set it up.
Yeah.
It was an Ahmed.
I think Sergio Love might have been there.
Sergio Love was there
Yep.
giving out that fake blow. Last night I was taking a shit. And I was thinking about Sergio Love. And Sergio Love used to have the worst blow in the world. The worst. That
Absolutely.
coke was
You didn't
so
even know if
fucking-
it was working.
He would call me the next day and ask me how it was. And I go, it's great. It was filled with amino acids. That's why you're getting so big, Sergio. Those things are just protein powders. Fuck you. I just got, okay, whatever. I would just torment him. And
So why would you buy it?
because he
Because it was
fronted
Coke.
to me at 4 in
Yeah.
the morning.
I know. It's the only fucking option
Yeah.
you had. You just roll the dice.
He
hope
was
it
the
good.
last package of the night Coke.
Yep.
And it really wasn't. Sometimes he gave you a good batch. Sometimes I go and he'd be passed out and I go in his pocket and he charged me for one, but I'd take 3. You know what I'm saying? Like shit
Yeah.
like that. Sergio was priceless. The best was the night he left me a gram in a motorcycle pouch. And when I went to the pouch, a white chick came from the shadows. She's like, where's Sergio? It was the scariest thing in the world. It was the white chick that tried to kill herself at the Comedy Store way before you guys' time. There was a white waitress there that was very sweet. And she started messing around with the black manager that was hanging around there a couple of years ago again.
Oh.
That came back as a comic. When he came
Manager.
back from Texas. I have not seen him in a while.
What black manager?
And he was hanging out with Yorsi or somebody. And he was hanging out with this white chick, and he broke her heart. And she tried to kill herself, and then she had to quit the store. Nobody remembers her name. I asked my wife the other day. My wife remembers the situation. It was kept hush-hush at the store. They just got rid of her. She went away. Sergio bumps into her at a bar in fucking Hollywood, takes her home, fucks the shit out of her. Now she's in love with Sergio.
Of course.
So she's stalking Sergio, and she was in his garage, hidden. In those days, he'd say, I'll leave you the Coke in the pouch. I'd have to open up his garage and go get the Coke. She was already in the garage waiting for him, guys.
Yeah.
I almost had a fucking heart attack. So the rumor was that Sergio had given the Coke to Freddie the night he died.
I'd heard that, yeah.
But the real story was that Sergio walked in as Freddie was leaving. Freddie was waiting for Sergio, but him and his cousin went somewhere else to get the blow. Mm-hmm. So the word on the street was that Sergio's Coke had killed him. The little rumor at the Comedy Store.
Which that place is terrible for that shit.
It's terrible.
Fucking
Eleanor wanted to
doesn't
kill
matter.
him.
Yeah.
Ari was mad at Sergio. You know, Ari till this day is still not cool with Sergio. He always says it's the Coke. He's always coked up. But it's all because of Freddie Soto.
Yeah.
Because in the back, but Freddie died from alcohol with the Valiums. They said they didn't find him.
Now, that's what I'd always heard, but
Right.
then just going to the store a lot, you hear those
Right, you
rumors. and
heard
you're
the
like,
other thing.
This place is terrible.
So at that time, The Longest Yard had just come out, and I was on the road every week. And when Freddie died, I was on the road. I didn't go to the funeral or the wake. And we're talking about a comic named Freddie Soto, and I'll never forget. I was just thinking about this last night.
He was the first person to ever bring me up at the Comedy Store. In the OR. In the
Yeah,
OR.
Good kid. And
First
I
person
remember
ever
that
intro
fucking
me.
Sergio called me in Atlanta one night. I was in Atlanta. Before it was this club that it is now. Not the Improv, not the
The
Punchline.
Laughing Skull.
Before Laughing Skull, that kid, the manager there, had a different bar.
Okay.
They had 2 comedy clubs, one there and one in Toledo, Ohio. And I was there for the weekend. I was dying, Thibault, dying a slow death. They were all Adam Sandler fans, and they would see my set and run the fuck out of there.
They thought you were gonna do like the Hanukkah song.
Oh my God, I was horrible. And
Play
I
the
went back to
guitar.
my hotel room and I'm sitting there debating my life. I had no blow. And the phone rings. It's Sergio Love. And I'm talking to Sergio. And I'm like, sir, and in the middle of all this, I go, Sergio, can I talk? Like, I knew Sergio. Sergio was my buddy. I love
I've
Sergio.
known him for a very
I
long
love
time.
Sergio with all my
I
heart.
have no problem with him at all. I love him.
And I go, Sergio, can I talk to you about something? There's a word going on in the street, a rumor. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, listen, there's a rumor that your Coke killed Freddie. He's like, nah, I didn't give it to him. I go, because it would be fucked up that for years I've been buying Coke from you. And the one night you get good Coke, the motherfucker dies. Oh my God. There was silence. And all of a sudden we both busted out because I kept my fucking, I sold it.
Yeah.
I'm like, the one night you get good Coke, it kills fucking Freddie.
I remember, man, he used to, this might be after you probably quit doing coke or whatever, but he used to live in this like hotel, like real, almost like a high-rise hotel.
Sergio.
Yes.
Where
On
was it?
Sunset.
Okay, that was afterwards.
Big black building on Sunset. Kind of like east, kind of by where the radio tower is. You know, that like KTLA or whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
A big black building. But I guess there was condos in there or something like that. He was living in there. And that's where his hookup or whatever back in the day, I'm not even sure that building is still functional, but the parking garage was in the basement of it, and you had to have this passcode. You know, if you were staying at the hotel, they would give you the code, then you can push the, 4 numbers, and then you can go into the bottom garage. Well, you would text, what's up, or what's the numbers, or whatever. They would know that you were looking for coke. They would just text you the code. You would pull right into this hotel, type it in, go in the little basement. Motherfucker's standing right there, just waiting for you for whatever you wanted. And then you would give him give him money. He would give you coke. It was like a drive-through.
How do you guys know the same dealer? Did you like hang out at the store?
Well, no, he wasn't the dealer, but you could get coke from him because of his guy. But he's a comic.
He was a comic.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
He was a comic.
But anybody that does coke in LA knows some of the. Eventually, you're gonna cross and know, like, oh yeah, I know that dude. I got some coke from that guy, or whatever. I used to have this English guy. The name of English Dave. He's like a pretty big like coke dealer back in the day, in Hollywood. This is like the late '90s, early 2000s, and back at the Coach and Horses. Remember that bar?
Yes.
It did something else now, but back then that was like a fucking great dive bar. Gary Shandling. A lot of people would just go in there because you could just hide in the shadows. It's crowded with 40 people in there. You can't even move. It's a small dive bar. But that's where this guy would always set up shop. And he would always do the same gag to anybody new that was getting coke from him. If you get a hookup, and he'd be like, yeah, this guy's cool. You have to introduce him the first time. And then he would be like, hey, be cool. Just slide me, give me the money under the bar. You'd hand him $60 under the bar. And then, like, there's people around, so you got to be really cool. And then he would throw it on the ground, and he'd be like, you dropped your package right there. You know what I mean? And everybody would look, and you would have to pick the coke up off the floor like a jackass. He did that to everybody, and every time somebody new would come by, you'd be like, hey man, get him with it. You know what I mean? Make him look like a fucking dick.
I'd fucking die if he did that. I think I'd kill him right there on the spot.
Really?
You dropped your packy. You dropped your packy.
I think one of the highest nights ever on coke, I was in the Coach and Horses. I had gone this is 98, I had gone for an audition downtown, and I got lost, and I ended up in Echo Park, and I'm getting a flat tire. I could feel it going buck, 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 buck. I'm like, God damn, I'm right there.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm driving, I'm behind that Cuban neighborhood. I didn't know it was a Cuban neighborhood then. And I'm stuck at a light, and all of a sudden I see 2 cop cars go, they get out, and they pull their weapons, and they shoot the fucking guy. This is my first 6 months in L.A., maybe.
Oh, shit.
I see the guy go down, then the police helicopter comes, and all of a sudden the cop cars are coming up.
Oh, my God.
So I turn around, I get out of there, and I don't know who to call. So I call Marilyn Martinez.
Uh-huh, of course.
And Marilyn
Who else?
Martinez goes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to send over Dave, my husband. And Dave took the tire off, took it right there in Echo Park up the hill. There's a tire place for $5, got a new tire. And we got to talking. He goes, have you ever met my brother-in-law? He's a Cuban dude. He just got out of the chair. You want to go meet him? I go, yeah, let's go over there. We went over there. The guy's like, you snort coke? Yeah. He goes, let me give you an 8-ball.
How does this always happen to you?
This was crazy. He goes, if you like it, come back. He goes, I charge like $125 for 8 balls, but it was all the way in Echo Park. I take that 8-ball, I go home, I do 2 bumps of it. It is out of this world.
Oh, shit.
It is like the best coke I've done in 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm jawing. I'm fucking seeing things. I got 2 lines in me. Next thing you know, I'm fucking going for broke. I called Josh Wolf. We go over there. We start pounding over there. We walk over to Coach and Horses. And who's in Coach and Horses but Stanhope and David Fulton?
Ugh.
I'll never forget going up to those guys, and I could not sit there. Like, when Stanhope says to you, hey, dog, you better go outside. I remember smoking, and the cigarette was moving with my jaw. Like, it was just horrible. I couldn't contain my jaw.
That's like Miles Davis going, man, you're really black.
And I went, and I fucking left there and walked to Vista, where Josh Wolf lived on that street. And I had a car there.
Yeah.
I had my car there, and I went, and I put the air on, and I just pushed the seat back, and I laid back there till 4 in the morning. I must have had another 2 grams in my pocket. I didn't touch it.
Wow.
That coke carried me through. It was that strong. I sat there, fucking jaw, couldn't focus, couldn't jerk off, couldn't get a hard on. I couldn't do dick. I was so fucked up on that toot. That was my last coaching. I was never really a big coach. I think in my whole life, I was there the night the chick smacked Rogan in the face. Back when the first year at News Radio, he walked in there. Some chick went up to him drunk and started, because only in this town would somebody take television that seriously.
Yeah.
They went up to him. I wasn't even standing. I was like 10 feet away. He was talking to like 3 girls. And some girl was talking about a cat. I'll never forget that conversation. And the girl reached over and just smacked Joe. And Joe grabbed her hand and was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And she went off about News Radio, that he had said something in his face. That's when he didn't smoke pot. I thought he was going to crush her wrist with his hand.
A lot of people don't remember those
Yeah,
days.
that he didn't smoke pot.
Not only did he not smoke it, he used to be so mean to us.
and uptight.
Oh, you guys are going to go smoke your dummy?
Oh, yeah.
Smoke your dummy cigarettes and get stupid?
Oh, my God. He used to
And then he
torment
starts
Ralphie
smoking
May.
pot when I quit, and it's like, I'm like, I can't win with Joe Rogan. I can't win with you, kid.
He used to torment Ralphie May. He used to ask us, "You want to come over to the strip club?" No. "What are you guys going to do? Sit here and smoke that shit? That dummy shit, you fucking losers?" I'd sit there and go, "You don't know what you're missing, cocksucker."
Well, now he does, and now he's like, "Oh, you don't want to expand your mind, you dummy." I'm like, I'm always a dummy with you. Why? I can't win, man. I'm always a dummy.
Now, what made you, when did you know you were ready to come back?
It was a combination of things. In August, that working on writing on that football show starts back up.
Okay.
And I really wanted to get 90 days. That was my goal. I couldn't get 30 in LA for fucking a year. So I was like, man, I just want to get 90 days. And then once I got to 90 days, I was like, I started booking gigs at Zany's, the Laugh Factory, all these different clubs in Chicago. I love that town so much. And it's about a 40-minute train ride from my hometown. Shout out to Michigan City, Indiana. Right on Lake Michigan. It's about a 40-minute train ride. So I would take the train in the city, start doing gigs, but it didn't. I didn't want to just come back to LA, start going to the Comedy Store, start doing the same old shit I was doing. That was a big fear of mine. I was going to come back and shit was just going to be right back to where it was, and I would just lose whatever. So it really was part of I don't say reinventing myself, but feeling like my fucking self again. That's why I started gigging. When I was 20, I started in Chicago. Started doing stand-up there, and I'm going to all these new clubs, the Up Comedy Clubs, beautiful up there. I love Zany's, one of my favorite clubs. Laugh Factory was super cool to me. So I was going in there doing, 1 or 2 gigs a week, and I was just loving it, And now it's starting to turn to spring, and everybody's in a fucking good mood, and everybody's so happy and nice, and the weather's, So I'm like, I'm going to stick around to the 4th of July. So I left. I came back maybe the 10th or 9th or 10th of July. So once the spring started coming, it was getting really nice. We were almost done with that house. I kind of wanted to see that through and work through that job. And then I was like, I just randomly picked right after the 4th of July, then I'll head back. But yeah, it really was weather. It was weather started to get nice. I had 4 months. I remember when February 1st, I did that gig with Steve Renazizi. I took the train in Chicago. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I got off the train February 1st. I'm walking up Michigan Avenue. And I'm fucking looking at my phone to see what the temperature is, and it was just straight up 0. Just nothing. It was dead even 0 degrees, 31 mile an hour wind. So it was like 22 degrees below 0. And that, whatever you didn't have covered, I had fucking long johns on, 2 pairs of socks, 2 pairs of gloves, a hat, 2 scarves. Just a little part of your face that maybe goggles could fit on. If that wasn't covered, it just felt like you were constantly getting slapped by someone with a big fat ass hand. It was just like getting slapped in the face repeatedly while every step you would take. So once the weather started to get nice and I was, now I'm doing gigs again. I hadn't done gigs in 3 months, and that's the longest I've gone in probably a decade of not gigging. And I had new material, and I fucking cut my hair, and I fucking started, went clean shaven and all this shit because I'm like, my insides, I felt different on the inside. I didn't feel like that hopeless, like I want to fucking put a gun in my mouth. Nothing's going to get any better. I didn't feel like that anymore. But every time I'd be brushing my teeth in the morning, I'd look at myself. I still look like the guy that used to fucking want to put a gun in his mouth. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to cut my hair. I'm going to shave. I'm going to fucking do all, different things. So I just looked different on the outside because I felt different on the inside. So when I was doing that and the weather got nice, I was like, I'm going to stick around here and do some gigs in Chicago and do some clubs that I don't usually get to do regularly. And everybody was so cool there. All the different clubs are just like, let me call Avails in and like, as long as you're here, man, just hit us up. Let us know what day you're in Chicago.
So Saturday will be 6 months.
Yes, sir.
And how do you feel? The truth, us as men, how do you feel?
I feel good. I feel, I'm not gonna
Do
sit
you
here.
want to go to the comedy store, have a cocktail, and get your dick sucked? That's the bottom line.
I'll take the latter of
wanna get your dick
of
sucked.
course, I want to get my next. But I can't. There's just shit. If I want things to be different, I have to do different things. That's the way I see it. So if I want to come back here, go to the comedy store when I don't have a spot, get there at 8, leave at 3, do that 5 nights a week. That's what I was doing. So if I start doing that shit again, I'm gonna feel like that again.
I'm not a whiner, and I'm not saying this in any negative form.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me leaving the store wasn't Tommy, it wasn't Rogan, it was, I just had to go.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't helping my addiction. I had to go. One thing about the store that, if you notice about the store, a lot of people go in and they get fucked up. When I first got here, there was 2 kids that were the nicest, sweetest kids in the world. I forgot what their fucking names were. It doesn't really matter. And one was a door guy, and we'd talk, and we'd smoke dope, and he'd tell me about how he got an agent, and and all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's teamed up with 3 other fucking morons, and they were young kids, and they're drinking. And I would get to the store at 9, trying to get a fallout, because my spot was at 12:30.
Sure.
I was a loser. I had nothing else going on.
Absolutely.
And I'd go to the store at 9, and I'd have my Coke in my pocket, and I'd start drinking for free. And once I got off stage, that's when I hit the Coke.
Sure.
And I seen these 3 kids just get sucked in.
Yep.
And next thing you know, I asked, where's the one kid? And they said, you don't know what happened? He OD'd on heroin in the back, where they have the VIP down in the back.
I know who you're talking about.
He OD'd back there.
I know.
There was Larry Vazio was part of that crew.
I know exactly what you're talking
and
about.
I seen, and you heard the stories of Kennison. You heard, that place was a haven of death from 80 to 94 or something.
Yeah.
And when I went in there, I'm not fucking blaming the comedy store at all, but
No.
you're there, and it's there, and it's $20, and you're with friends, and you're having a few drinks, and you're talking about comedy. And you know what? I don't really like talking to people, but you give me 3 lines, I'll talk to a fucking homeless guy for an hour about the history of fucking the United States or the movie Slash or whatever the fuck it is.
Or how his boner has stigmata.
Yeah. So, it really, when I wanted to stay clean, I knew the comedy store wasn't gonna. It felt like I was going back to the place that took me down in a way. Like I was like, you know what?
Yep.
Just something about that place. I gotta stay out there. I gotta find Joey again.
Yeah.
My recovery. I did it in my apartment. There was no money. There was no flight to Jersey this last time. This was going to bed at 9 and forcing myself to go to bed so the addiction wouldn't wake me up at 10:30. And it did a couple nights.
Of course.
Addiction will wake your fucking shit up and go,
Don't I
just
know
go have
it.
one drink, bro.
Absolutely.
It's fine. And I'm very fortunate that, yes, I smoke marijuana. And yes, I had a Irish cream on the flight the other day. Right? I was fucked up on those stars. I was hitting this vapor pen. I might as well get a fucking Irish cream, right? I mean, an Irish cream you can't get hooked on Irish.
Right.
The lady kept coming back going, you want another one? I'm like, no, it's a Bailey's.
Yeah, I know.
Bailey's with,
Who gets
with a couple
addicted
of
to
ice
that
cubes
shit?
in the morning is delicious.
It's like someone being addicted to acid. It's like, no,
Yeah,
you're not.
no.
There's no way.
So that's the extent of my drinking. But I'm very happy. I'm very happy for you because I got to tell you something. You have no idea what's coming down your road if you stick to this. And you know what, teams? Listen, if you smoke a hit of joint, I'm not going to judge you. It's the devil that got you to that dance that you really have to focus on.
Sure.
In my world, when I sat down, I said, listen, weed never made me go to the ATM at 6 o'clock and cut and run red lights.
Absolutely.
Because at 8 o'clock, Thibault, my insides would burn. Thibault, my insides would burn. I can't even describe I couldn't even think. I remember my wife talking to me about life and what's coming on at 9:30. I couldn't even hear her. The anxiety. It was like, and eventually I just had to get up and I'd make believe I was doing something. And I'd take the ATM card and run to the Rouse, Rock and Roll Rouse.
Yeah.
And I'd take $60 out and I'd go to D's house and pick up $60, all compadre, and pick up 4 packages. And once I had it in my hand, that released the anxiety. Now the anxiety was gone.
I can relate to that.
Now I got to deal with the 11:15 spot, and it's only 8:45. I would count the minutes. Count the fucking minutes. So I would.
You would never do blow before you went on.
No, I would go home, drop 2 packages off at the house, and take one in my pocket, and I put it in my top thing right here. And I
So you get 320. You get 3 separate 20 bags.
whatever I would get, whether it was
sure,
60 or
sure.
20. But here's the beauty of it. I would go up there. What's the biggest rumor about me? Dog, he leaves right after his set.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you knew. There wasn't a hello. There wasn't a picture. It was
like
basically
an outline of smoke where your body used to be. Like,
get the fuck away from me. It's over. Joe Rogan would be furious. Where'd Joey go? Ask Redman. Where'd Joey go?
Yeah.
That motherfucker. I was the king. There was no way I wanted to hear what you had to say about my set, comedy, whatever the fuck you thought. I didn't give a fuck. I would get that. I would pull out of the comedy store, cross over to the middle lane, make the left at the House of Blues, and pray for that light to be yellow as I was going down the hill, because that would give me 3 minutes to go in my pocket, take the bin. First off, before I crossed Sunset, I already had a dollar bill rolled up in my hand.
Oh, yeah.
And as I was driving east on Fountain, I would just be doing the 20 until by the time I got to Hollywood, to La Brea, by the time I lived in Hollywood then. So I would drive on whatever. What's the road you
Fountain?
Fountain.
Yeah.
And once I hit La Brea, I'd throw the $20 bindle out the window. I was on fire.
Done with it.
Now it was a race to get home to take a shit and to hit the rest of that Coke.
I would see, there was times where in my life, and I had a Coke run of about, 6 or 7 years. Like I said, it was really just to enhance my drinking. So I was never, but I can relate to everything you're saying. I had dudes that, like, if I went to coaching horses and I would just see English Dave, I'd see him sitting at the bar. Even if I just popped in there for a fucking afternoon pint or something, I fucking go in there for Budweiser, whatever, it doesn't matter. Pop in there for a drink, I see him sitting at the end of the bar, I immediately would have to shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the
You see the Coke guy.
Oh, my God.
You would
shit
just
the
see
shit.
him,
Hold on, I'll
and
be
you would
right
have
back.
to shit.
Your insides would be so excited that you were going to do blow. It's funny.
And I wasn't even planning on it. Wasn't even planning on seeing him. And I would make eye contact with him, and I'd be like, now I got to shit.
Talking to you makes me think about my addiction, where it was in 94, 95. That was one of the best parts of my addiction, because I was divorced, I was miserable, I was in pain, I was alone, and I was like a squirrel. What's those animals that gather nuts?
Yeah, squirrels.
Okay, so let's pretend for some reason I found $200. Vince would give me fucking an 8-ball, and I would front the gram in those days. Vince, give me it, because as long as I had cash for the 8-ball, who's the gram for? It's for Jason. He's coming over later. I can see you tomorrow. I still owe Vince $1,800. I'm waiting to fuck. I thought he would come to my shows in Denver. He still won't fucking. I love that kid with all my heart. But let's pretend I already had Vince figured out, and it was 2 in the afternoon. I'd watch TV till about 4, and at 4, I'd make my liquor run. That's an addict. I'd make my liquor run to this place in Boulder. I would go to Moe's Bagels and get a turkey sandwich with Swiss cheese, a tomato, and mayonnaise, and salt and pepper, heavy on the pepper. And I'd go next door, and I'd buy whatever. I'd buy 2 6-packs of
Enough to
Fat
get you
Tire,
to tomorrow.
Two 6-packs of Fat Tire. In those days, what was I drinking? What was the heavy shit I was drinking? I forget what the fuck it was. Gin and tonics, maybe. I was drinking gin. So I'd buy a bottle of gin and a bottle of tonic and a couple limes. I'd get a couple airplane bottles of tequila. I mean, this is what I'd take. Oh, yeah, because I knew.
People think you're going to a fucking bar mitzvah or something. You're like, nah, it's just for me.
Hilarious.
For 24 hours?
And I would
Yeah.
get the
Sounds
Coke.
like to me.
I would get the Coke around 9 o'clock. The 8-ball and the extra gram, which would be 4.5 fucking grams. That'll kill a normal person. That's what 5 people do.
Yeah.
That's what 5 people do.
Yeah.
What do you think I was going to ask Thibault earlier, what do you guys think makes an addict? Because some people might listen to this and be like, I drink 8 beers and I'm fine.
I think
What I'm telling you right now, what we're both telling, these stories make you a fucking addict.
I think the obsession of the mind. I think the fact that you obsess about it when it's not around, the anxiety that you discussed, Joey. And then I think it's like, I really do, because I know people that drink as much as I did, sometimes, some of them maybe even more, but their life is fine. Their life is manageable. They can just do that.
Well, they have control.
Yes.
And I appreciate those people, but somewhere along the line,
it becomes the priority for
drinking,
me.
drinking like, I used to have a father-in-law, my ex-wife's father-in-law, You know, he was a lieutenant colonel, but if you called him after 7, that motherfucker be slurring 7 nights a week, Jack.
Yeah.
And he went to church on Sundays, didn't curse in his home, didn't drink, didn't smoke. You know, he drank. But he hit those fucking whiskeys, and by 7, he'd be slurring. Did he have a problem? Was somebody going to tell him in his school, in his day and age, there was no alcohol problem? He just
Right.
didn't go out and drink in a fucking car.
Right.
That's it. Nobody knows. He already had all the money he wanted. He owned an insurance company. Would I call him an alcoholic? I'm not sure. I don't. He was in the. Nobody. He never hurt nobody. He never called you and tortured you. He never did nothing like that.
Well, would you consider yourself addicted to weed then? Because that sounds kind of like you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Listen. You know how much of this weed gets me high?
How much?
I'm sober already.
No, you're not.
Look at me.
Don't lie.
I swear to God.
I think I would think so.
I'm telling you as your friend. I'm sober already. This weed does. I'm looking at this shit, and when I go home, I'm packing this up. This does nothing to you, but destroy your lungs. This fucking wax shit. This just destroys your lungs. I'm just doing it tonight as a joke. I'll never do that again. This shit isn't lately. Like last 2 or 3 months, why do you think I was smoking 2 vapor pens the other day on fucking TV? Because this shit, you know, my next level is to do a line of heroin, but I won't. This shit ain't doing nothing for me. I enjoy the action. I'm an action junkie. The last 10 years I did coke, you really think I enjoyed hiding in a bathroom with no dick, looking at a mirror, picking my fucking scabs that there's nothing in there? I'd feel there's a coke rock in my face.
See,
with a
that's the
fucking
same thing for
tweezer.
me. Like I would.
You have no fucking idea.
You know, you're like earlier. You were like, yeah, man. You're a good social drinker. I'm not a big drinker, but you're the kind of guy I would like to go out and party with. And you know, a lot of my friends, Red Band, Jason Galern, a lot of people I love are like, dude, you're fine, man. You're fine. I'm like, no, you and I quit drinking together at 1. You go home. I go and drink till 6 in the morning by myself. I'm not fine. You know what I mean? Maybe the 2 hours you and I knock down a 6-pack together, I'm fine.
At 1:15, you're already thinking about, I got to get out of here because I got to catch the liquor store before it closes at 2.
150. If I'm at the Comedy Store at 150, and they're like, hey, you want to go on and fuck around with Don Barris at the end of the night? I'm like, I got to hit this fucking Pink Dot. I got 10 minutes to go get a 12-pack. Or you know what I mean? Or I'm fucked.
How much money would you spend a night, do you think?
Well, I was the king of, and you know the deal, dude. You really get good at spinning your addiction into free. I probably averaged 10 free drinks a night just by knowing bartenders, comedy store, even a couple of my buddies bartend along Hollywood.
Even a 12 pack's like what, $15?
But that's at the end of the night.
Yeah,
after he dropped 10. And he drank 55 fucking drinks, 20 shots. He smoked 18 joints at the store. He did 3 bumps. Somebody offered you meth. Somebody offered to take you home and let you pet the. I mean, when you went to this, there was nights I didn't have a spot. And I'm going down to the store to hustle. And as I was leaving, I'd see Maz Jabrani. Maz, throw me a 50 till Friday. Joe, you got to follow me to the ATM machine. That's fine. I'd follow him to the ATM, take a 50, go back to the store, bump into somebody who goes, Joey, I have something for you. I got a
Remember
gram of
Chewy?
blow. Chewy, I'd have a gram of blow for you. Somebody would come up and go, I got a half gram of blow for you for free.
Mm-hmm.
Then somebody would go, I got weed for $20. The 50 I borrowed from him. So now I just went up there with a 0. I'm home already with 30, a gram of blow, and a fucking eighth of weed, a $20 bag of weed.
Yep.
That's all I needed for the night.
I would go out with $20.
Yeah.
I would come back with $15 hammered. And I got 3 joints in my pocket.
At the store, Tuesday through fucking Saturday, 10 years ago, I was drunk every fucking night.
Yeah.
I would wait till I'd do my set, and then I'd go crazy because he'd make me fucking doubles that were the size of fucking, you know. What's going on with Tony Bennett? You going to play him sometime this fucking year, cocksucker? It's a beautiful day to be alive. I'm happy, Thibault, that you did what you did. You're going to see what happens.
Thank you, buddy. I hope so,
It's
man.
fucking amazing. Once you get the mentality that, man, I could really go for a drink, and you're like, I put work in.
Yeah.
I put work in.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people, you can go on a diet and count your calories. Go to the gym. That'll make that fucking sandwich at night. Because you know, leave it. Go ahead, dog.
Yeah, dog.
Yeah, I might have to eat that 500 milligram with you to take it to the next limit. Because you ain't high either.
Oh, yes, I am.
He's
Yes,
so
I am.
That cookie didn't do dick to you.
Huh?
That cookie didn't do dick to you.
Well, the wax on the joint did, and then the cookie did.
What about the fucking electronic puffer thing?
Yeah, that's the wax, I think.
This is fucked up. This stuff.
But I'm totally willing to believe that Joey is not stoned anymore.
That's
and
crazy.
you look like you might be a little stoned still.
This actually isn't really that. Like, this is halfway. Not kind of.
No, this isn't
I've
bad.
had a lot
that,
worse.
That edible isn't bad. Let's eat that brownie.
No, thank you.
Let's make this a fucking celebration. It's like when they beat up that guy in Goodfellas. It's a celebration.
Well, it's crazy, Thibault,
Right.
because you came home. Like, Joe, we've talked about it a lot. How many people leave and never come back?
Oh yeah,
Like,
for
that's
sure.
crazy that you came. Like, most people don't.
I mean, it was always my intention to come back. But yeah, I can absolutely see why people would come here and fucking lose it and be like, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck these people. Fuck this place. Fuck that place. Fuck this town. You know, I mean, I could definitely relate to that.
Did any part of you think you were gonna stay?
Maybe 5-10%. You know, once springtime rolled around and I was loving that city so much because I do love Chicago and the clubs are so nice and the people are so friendly. You know, so many pretty girls and everyone's so different. I was kind of like, I could see myself living here, man. This is a nice ass fucking town. Well, great walk around town. Great restaurants.
Do you go to Wrigley? I've always wanted to go to Wrigley.
Oh yeah, of course. You never been to Wrigley? Or have you ever been to Chicago?
I'm from Boston, so I've been to Fenway, and I've been to Camden, and then the Dodgers. So I want to go to Wrigley.
You're gonna hate me, Chicagoans. I'm gonna tell you what the best meal I had
Oh, you were just there.
in Chicago. Well, I went to this place that was close. I love this place. It's easy. It's Italian, small Mario's. It's downtown. I went in there the first day and got the Fra Diablo, the shrimp with the fucking calamari and the mussels, delicious. And I went the next day and got the steak alla Vesuvio, delicious, with a side salad, delicious water. I didn't touch the bread. I'm gonna tell you what the best meal I had was. Oatmeal cooked in coconut milk.
What?
Oh my God, Lee!
Didn't you have an Italian beef too?
No, I didn't have an Italian beef. It
Really?
was this big. It was this big when she brought. And I looked at it on the menu. I gotta taste that.
Where was it? Is that the same place?
It was down the corner. It's Carlson Gracie's old neighbor, this jiu-jitsu master, and that's where he used to go to breakfast. Everybody says it's a really good breakfast.
And that's all it was just oatmeal cooked in coconut milk?
With coconut drizzles on top and sliced banana like a motherfucking soldier. I'm looking to buy some coconut milk this week and try. I'm gonna go online and learn how to make that. I mean, fucking delicious, guys.
If I told you I went to Chicago and the best thing I ate was oatmeal, you'd punch me in the
you
face.
would kick him right in the fucking balls.